How's it going, guys? Stonewall here with Raised by Sharks. Today on the channel we're breaking down the Bowgun mods. The first ones I want to talk about are the suppressors and assists. So you have recoil suppressor, reload assist, and deviation suppressor. So on the side of the gun you'll see on the screen where it says deviation. This gun has none, so you wouldn't be using any deviation. Although if you had a gun that did have deviation, it would say high, low, medium. And adding on the deviation mods would reduce the amount of deviation. Deviation is when you fire your gun, sometimes it could kind of like shank or hook off to the side for no apparent reason. The deviation suppressor reduces that. Typically the guns that are high deviation though are usually for sticky, cluster, or spread priority. Usually Pierce or normal guns will not be high on deviation, so it's usually not too much of a problem. Next is reload assist. Reload assist increases the speed that you reload. So when you look at your ammo, it'll tell you the speed being very slow, slow, normal, fast, and very fast. What you want is at least for your main ammo type to be of reload speed fast, because it's actually a pretty big priority, because when you're on the battlefield and you hit the reload, if your reload speed is fast or on the very edge of normal, but it's difficult to tell when you're on that line because it's like a hidden number in the game, that once you reach that reload speed, your character will no longer put the gun down on the ground to crank it back to reload it. Instead, he'll reload the ammo while walking, which gives you a big advantage. So you see here how it says that, like, for example, Pierce 1 ammo, if I were to add this reload assist, would bring it from slow to normal. If I wanted to focus Pierce ammo on this gun, which obviously I wouldn't, this gun is good for sticky, I would be adding on reload assist to make sure that I can get it to fast for optimum play. The last one in this video is a mod that I actually use on this specific gun, so it's easier for me to show you. You see on the screen how it says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the number of mod slots that you're going to have on the recoil suppressor. The recoil suppressor reduces the amount of recoil that you face when you fire a shot. High recoil is going to knock your guy back a couple steps. Average recoil is going to jolt him back a little bit and prevent him from shooting quickly. Low recoil is going to make sure that you're firing like bang, 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 with no recoil, and it enables you to dodge roll out of shots very quickly. Ideally, you want low recoil. It's probably the biggest difference maker on the heavy bowgun. So for instance, if you're using the Karma from back in the day, and you wanted to get your recoil lower, you would just add on a couple recoil mods, and you see how it's bringing the recoil on all the various different ammos lower. Basically, when you pick the gun, you want to identify which ammo type you want to be focusing on. After that point, you pick the gun, and then you mod it out to the way that you need it to work for you. But recoil has to be one of your highest priorities. Now, I will say, the one time you don't really want recoil is if you were focusing on an ammo that has the auto reload type. So you see how the slicing ammo has that little blue arrow pointing down, as well as the exhaust ammo has it? That means that after each shot, it's going to immediately load one back into the clip and you fire. So it's like fire, reload, fire, reload, fire, reload. It's actually much better than it sounds, and for certain ammo types, it's better than having high reload and high recoil suppressor, because it keeps you firing very quick as long as you don't get hit. Now we're going to talk about the mods that have to do with the damage at specific ranges. Close range and ranged attack up. These two mods increase your DPS by a good amount, but the thing is that you want your recoil suppressor to be in first, so that way when you fire, you're firing quickly. After you have in all the mods that you want, then you fill up your build with either close range or range attack up, depending upon the type. For the most part, you're only going to be using these two if your build is consisting of either spread ammo with close range up or ranged attack up. Ranged attack up will increase the damage that you fire per shot or per tick that hits when you're at the far end of the critical range, whereas close range up does the opposite. When you're within critical range, it'll increase the damage at the closer end to the monster. So if you're like a foot or two within critical range, that will be your highest damage point, versus the opposite with the range attack up. So for Pierce, you want range attack up because you're going to be far away sniping at them. Close range up, you're going to be right in their face. Now we're going to be focusing on the shield mod. I've seen a lot of stuff, especially on Reddit, with the shield mod suggesting players to use 2 or 3 mods of this along with using guard and guard up for heavy bowgun. Really, it's not necessary, and it's killing your build. You want one shield mod max, especially if you're using spread. You definitely want the shield mod in because it's very good, but using more than one is just going to reduce the amount of close range or range attack up you could put on your gun, which reduces your damage a lot. Realistically, I use one shield mod on the spread build that I use, and every time you get hit facing the monster but not doing anything, the shield auto guards for you, and you only take really chip damage, especially late game when your builds have like over 1,000 defense, or if you're in the guiding lands and you use fortify, and your builds could sometimes reach upwards of 1,200-1,300 defense. You're just going to take chip damage. You do not need guard or guard up added into it. You don't need extra shield mods, regardless of what people will try to tell you on the internet. Those people probably are just very bad at the game. What you really want to be doing is use the one shield mod to protect you, and then afterwards you want to dodge. If you're shielding, then you're going to be taking yourself out of combat. You're still taking damage, it just reduces the amount of damage you take. You want to be dodging. If you dodge, then you're back in the fight within seconds, as opposed to the shield, which knocks you back, and then you have to go heal. Now, finally, the special scope. I see a lot of people using it, especially in like speed runs, stuff like that. But if you're not like a MLG professional, like quick scoper type of thing, and you're just trying to casually play, you can completely ignore the special scope. If you are trying to heavily boost your DPS, or you're trying to, reduce hunt times, or you are a speedrunner, the special scope is very good. Basically, when you aim in, it replaces the regular reticle that you would have with being a zoomed in scope, and within that scope, you'll get a little notification saying that you're within super critical distance, and when you're within that super critical distance, it'll increase your damage by, I believe, like 10% or something like that. It's a pretty big increase regardless of what the actual increase is, but again, you have to be within that super critical, and you lose all of your peripheral vision, and it takes an extra like 1/10 of a second to actually aim down sights. Okay, for now, we're going to skip the special ammo mods. We're going to get to those at a later time. For now, we're going to talk about the barrels. These are actually very, very critical, and if you confuse the two of them, it will really just destroy your whole build. I was using the long barrel for a while because I was like, okay, I'm using Pierce build. I want to be at a further range to go with the range attack up, like on this gun right here, the Crimson Kadachi, or if you're on Baleful Knight. I was using the range attack up with the long barrel like this. See, I haven't even switched over after I figured this out. The long barrel increases the speed that your bullet travels and extends both your maximum and critical range. Now, after testing it in the training arena, it really only extends your maximum range by like maybe 2 steps, 3 steps backwards, and your critical range by 2 steps backwards. It's very, very ineffective and not worth it. Honestly, even if you're not going to use the power barrel, I suggest avoiding the long barrel, because especially on Pierce, I noticed it happening when I switched to the long barrel. Increases the ammo speed by so much that a lot of the times when you shoot the Pierce bullet through the monster, it procs less because it travels through them so much quicker that it doesn't have the time to proc. Power barrel is very, very useful if you're using a Pierce build. When I switched from long barrel to power barrel and tested it in the arena, I was doing an extra about 13% DPS constantly, consistently, because it slows down your ammo, which you might think would make you miss more frequently, but if you never use the long barrel in the first place, it's the neutral speed. But it increases the piercing damage, boosts stun effects, and exhaust effects. It lets you hit more frequently than the base. So base Pierce 3 ammo, I believe, lets you hit 3 times per tick. I have noticed that when I use the power barrel, I can sometimes hit up to 10 ticks. It's a very good barrel, a very good mod. If you're using a Pierce build, heavily suggest. Okay, now for the special ammo mods. WYVERNHEART mod takes WYVERNHEART and it doesn't change the way it behaves, but the longer that you have it held down and are hitting the monster, the more your damage increases. It's actually a pretty big increase if you specialize in it, like if you're using the special ammo damage increase along with the WYVERNHEART mod, and you hold it down on a monster that's, let's say, trapped, or you're just not getting hit, you're able to consistently hit them, you'll deal upwards of like 110, 120 per hit. The WYVERNSNIPE mod has some really good effects and some bad effects, but depending upon what kind of build you're running, the good could outweigh the bad. The WYVERNSNIPE takes the whole pierce through the body and then explode multiple times effect and replaces it with a single, almost like sticky ammo shot, but it's good for wake ups because the first hit where it actually sticks to them does not wake up the monster Most monsters won't acknowledge it, and then when it explodes, you get the full blast of what would have been the whole Wyvern Snipe damage at one point. So it's good for breaking parts and for waking up monsters. Alright, now that you know a little bit more about the heavy bowgun mods, you can go and put your build together a little more informed. And some of these things had little hidden effects, and I hope you learned about it, and I hope you have a better time hunting. Thanks for watching Raised by Sharks. Remember, leave a like and subscribe for more.